Okay, so what's this about? This is episode 20.5, and it's called Fusion Inventions. Well, I talked about fusion breaking genres in the last episode, and this one is more about inventions. Everybody, at least in the classical world, has heard of a Bach invention. And, some composers call them etudes, exercises, inventions. They're basically exercises for people to learn how to play better. Bach wrote his Bach inventions to help people play better. I wrote a piece of 5 pieces of music called the Self-Esteem Suite, because I found out that creative outliers frequently got so much negative feedback that they weren't feeling so good about themselves. So this song I just played was called Just Say Vivi. And part of it is like, just say Vivi, just say Vivi. Okay, there's lots of lyrics, there's lots of words, but the Vivi stands for valid and valuable. And you have to remind yourself that what you're doing is valid and valuable, and stop sort of second guessing if the world thinks it's okay, or if society or your parents or your friends. You got to sort of just do your thing. So I decided to make these 5 inventions. I called them inventions. Other people might have called them etudes or exercises, but I called them inventions. And there's a suite of them. There's 5 of them called the Self-Esteem Suite. And the first one has to do with reminding yourself that what you're doing is valid and valuable. It's the beginning of self-esteem, telling yourself you're okay. And then the next one is about getting yourself up, and I'll play them all eventually, but not during this segment necessarily. But the concept is that instead of calling my pieces toccatas or fugues or sonatas or whatever these forms are, if I call them inventions instead, because I am actually an inventor and a composer, then nobody could tell me what form they're supposed to be. And they could have 3 sections or 4 sections or slow or fast sections. I could sort of do what I want and not be constrained by the normal music forms of chorus and verse and intro and bridge and outro. Pop music has these very rigid formats. They seem to fall into these algorithmic systems, which don't make that much sense to me. Neither the classical algorithms make sense, and the pop algorithms don't make sense either. Jazz standards are a little freer, but even them, there's like 32 measures, everybody plays the head, then everybody gets a turn taking a chorus. If you're really good, you get more than 1 turn taking a chorus. You could take up to 3. If everybody's really good, everybody takes 3 choruses, and then the song has 12 choruses. It's so algorithmic. The reason I wanted to call these fusion inventions is I wanted to be able to combine a Keharwa Hindustani drummer with the Self-Esteem Suite thing that I wrote, which is really more of a swing tune, but hey, it's fusion. And since they're my inventions and the world doesn't know what they are because they didn't exist before, I could invent whatever I want. So I've decided to call these fusion inventions because I'm fusing different styles together, and I'm inventing whatever form or structure I want, and the structure and the form can actually change while it's happening. Improvisation is a set of languages depending on the style, but if you're playing African drumming or if you're playing jazz bebop, they don't do the same kinds of things. Indian music has a different form of improvisation. Not being schooled in all of these different genres, I decided to just go for it and wing it. By picking different genre drummers, I figure I'm going to dip my toe into the vibe of that culture. So this was some Hindustani tabla playing, and it probably even had the tablas tuned to a key which I didn't even try to figure out this time because I just wanted to play. And I'm pretty sure they weren't in the same key. I think this drummer might have been in the key of C and I was in the key of A minor. Sort of related to C. I mean, A minor is the relative minor of C major. So I could sort of kind of get away with it, but I don't think most people are accustomed to listening to whether or not the keyboard's in tune with the drums, or at least not in our culture. So in terms of the future of fusion inventions, since I've got this Self-Esteem Suite of 5 pieces, if I play all 5 of them, they last roughly 15 or 20 minutes. But if I play them with a lot of different drummers and I do a lot of different kinds of fusion, they could last forever. I could do a 90-minute concert with these 5 pieces of music, even though the chord changes might be the same. The rhythmic scaffolding under it could be all over the map, and I can certainly change all of the melodies. So perhaps the chord changes are somewhat the same, but the melodies completely change. The rhythms underneath completely change. And while I was changing the melodies and the rhythm, I forgot the chord changes to this first piece called Just Say Vivi, and made up different ones. So it's interesting that in music, some people really, really abide by the rules very tightly, and if they make a mistake, they freak out. And then there's other people like me who are doing a little bit more of a free-for-all experience. And I think I'm going to play out the rest of this section with a little bit more tabla. And one more thing, you may have noticed that sometimes when I press the piano, nothing comes out because the keyboard has to wake the computer up. So I have to play a couple of notes before the computer's ready to play. That's what's happening. 20.5.